Welcome everybody. This is Latvian Grandmaster Art Connections, and I'm very pleased to come back with a brand new day, brand new stream, uh, covering the 54th Biel Chess Festival, which is currently ongoing in the Swiss town of Biel. It started previous Saturday with the Chess 960 tournament. 8 invited players played a round-robin tournament, and it was won by the Russian Grandmaster Kirill Alexeyenko. And then on last Sunday started the so-called Grandmaster Triathlon. The Rapid tournament, again 8 players played a round-robin tournament. It was won by Gatakamsky. On Tuesday, the participants started to play the round robin of classical tournament. So I'll show you the pairings for today. These are the pairings for today's matches. As you can see, local Grandmaster Noel Studer, he's meeting Argentine #1 Grandmaster Alain Pichot. The Indian prodigy Sarini Hall is playing against Boris Gelfand. Yet another prodigy, this time from Germany, Vincent Kiemer, is playing against Kirill Alexeyenko, the former playing the FIDE Candidates tournament, probably one of the favorites in the event as well, and also the American Grandmaster Gata Kamsky, who is meeting one of the strongest French Grandmasters, Maxime Lagarde. So this is round 2. Yesterday, they already played round 1 with 3 decisive results. So the current rankings at the moment are as follows, including the Rapid tournament results. As you can see, the Grandmaster Triathlon combines together 3 tournaments. It's a classical tournament of round robin, 7 rounds. So today we are playing the second round. Every victory in the classical tournament gives every participant 4 points. Every draw is 1.5 points, and the loss is 0 points. Comparing with the Rapid tournament, in the Rapid tournament, every victory would give the participant 2 points, a draw would be 1 point, and obviously a loss is 0 points. And in Blitz, which is going to be held this Saturday, every victory is counted as usual, 1 point for the winner, half a point for draw, but there's going to be a double round robin tournament, meaning not 7 games but 14 games, and this starts this Saturday. So right now we are going live to the tournament hall. As you can see, the games are already well underway. They started at 2 p.m. Central European Summer Time, so they've been playing for good 2.5 hours. So we are now joining the action and see what is happening right now. Maybe in the meantime also I'll mention that this is not the only tournament being held in Biel right now. There's also other interesting tournaments, for example the MTO or the Masters tournament, which has such amazing field. Salem Seleki is the top seed, Pavel Ulyanov is the second seed, and many other strong grandmasters to 650 plus. They're playing in an open tournament of 9 rounds and over 70 players. They started already on Monday, and in the final phases of tournament we are also going to have a peek what is happening in the leader boards. But our main focus is going to be the Grandmaster Triathlon, and now we're following the game of the classical games. I will start with the game of Noel Studer. Yeah, also I would like to remind you is that I'm monitoring the chat, right? So if you want to ask some questions, I'll try to answer them, right? I might not be able to see every single comment, but from time to time I'll have a peek what you're saying there. Maybe you see that something exciting is going on in one of your favorite games. I might just switch it, have a look. And also we have the live camera feed, which you are able to follow. All right, so this is the game between Noel Studer against Alain Pichot. At the moment they have slightly, probably, not probably, but certainly different situation in the tournament rankings. For Noel, so far, this has been a slight disappointment. So he makes his return to the Grandmaster tournament the previous time he did it last year. And this time it's been a little bit disappointment. Starting the Chess 960 tournament with 5 losses, then finishing strongly with 2 wins, but also the rapid section wasn't really what probably the Swiss fans were hoping for. And yesterday he played really terrible opening against Gatakamsky, very quickly lost a pawn, and the American GM was merciless. So this time Noel is looking to fight back, and he wants to fight back, and he has this amazing position which you can see on the board. Let's see how did he get here. So d4, knight f6, c4, e6, knight f3, d5. We play the Catalan. One of the strongest, not the strongest, but one of the most traditional openings of many, many years. There's so many ways how black can try to play this. There's d takes on c4 with ideas to play a6, b5. There's bishop b4 check with the intentions to play bishop e7 next. There's the close position with c6, but okay. So here, Pichot decided to play d takes on c4, still following his first round's game against Boris Gelfand. I'm not sure if you remember it, but in the game against Gelfand, he played a6, a4, and c5. And after d takes on c5, I think it was bishop takes on c5, knight e2, b5, a highly topical line. This is what I played yesterday, and Boris made a big blunder in a very sharp position. He still had enough time on the clock. He miscalculated, and the Argentine #1 grandmaster was able to score a very important point with the black color. And this is the round 2, and again he's playing with black, but this time, as you can see, he decided not to go for this. I think that's a smart choice, because obviously his opponent Noel Studer was carefully following the yesterday's game, so he has more than one line that he could play against the Catalan system. So today he played c6. Now c6 is not the main move here, although it's playable. The idea is to allow white to take on c4, then play b5, queen d3, knight e7. And one of the typical ideas for black is at some point to play a6, bishop b7, and c5. However, having already played c6, this is sort of a loss of time, because normally I'll show you maybe another line. Let's say if black plays a6, and if white would accept the pawn with queen c4, b5, queen goes out unaware, queen c2, bishop b7, then black manages to play c5 in one go. But of course, white is not really obliged to play queen takes on c4, and we could follow the game of Gelfand against Pichot of the first round. So that's why he played c6, literally forcing white to take on c4, and after b5, queen d3, knight b7. Here, it was time for the Swiss grandmaster to make surprise. So here he played bishop e3, and I checked the database because I didn't recognize this move, and it's a novelty. It's a novelty. I mean, nobody had played it before, and since Noel played it very quickly, apparently this must have been his preparation. Previously, people did play rook d1, I think. I think queen d3 is also not the main move, but bishop e3 definitely is a new idea. I can only guess that white is not positioning the bishop on the more traditional f4, because after knight e5, knight e4, there might be double pawns, and if black indeed is going to take on e3, white recaptures on e3 at the same time, stopping or at least slowing down black's idea to play c5. So quite an interesting idea, although this bishop on e3 looks rather weird. So a5 was played. I'm not sure how necessary is this move. Maybe it was possible to play a6, but then again, if black would play something like a6, white could try to play, for example, something like knight e2, bishop b7, knight b3, and suddenly all of white's pieces are well meeting this move c5, one of the big strategic ideas for black. So a5 was played, probably with the idea to play bishop a6 and b4. So rook c1, a very interesting idea, first developing the rook and then trying to define later what to do with this knight. Should it go to c3? Should it go to d2? What is clear that white should position one of the rooks at the semi-open c5. Bishop b7 was played, knight b2, knight e5, and knight e4, stopping black's ideas to play c5. h6, yeah, I'm not really sure how is this move necessary. I imagine that the idea is that black wants to play something like queen b6, and then after something like knight g5, there could be some problems with the pawn on h7. So obviously you don't want to get a mate. Let's say if black decides to play knight f6. Yeah, I'm not sure what's happening really here. I guess something like knight e5, and it's not exactly 100% clear if black wants to play c5, and there might be some knight g4, knight f6 ideas as well. So that being said, I guess h6 makes sense, right? So knight e5 was played, and knight e5 is a very typical idea in the catalog. White voluntarily doubles the pawns. Now his idea is to take on d7, play knight c5, and secure a very good outpost on c5. So let's say black doesn't do it, and he plays something like queen c7. Probably it's a blunder, I don't know, but I just want you to show the idea. So knight e7, queen d7, knight c5, and if black takes it. Now white wants to play something like bishop d2 and e4, push away the knight. So after knight e3, queen e3, it already should be quite apparent that white is having the upper hand here, because he has this very nice pressure against the pawn on c6, while for black the only chance is to organize something at the d file, but I guess this can be easily be defended, maybe rook d1, or just in time to play something like queen c3, e3, and black is sitting in a very passive defense. So black decided to play knight takes on e5, and of course Pichot understands all of the ideas. He understands the idea that knight e5 is a very classical idea. He knows the consequences of weakening the dark squares, but I think he simply didn't have anything better. So after knight e5, d takes on e5, since bishop c5 again is a big threat, trading away the bishops, positioning the knight on c5, and maybe thinking about the right moment to push e4, he decided to play knight e3. After queen e3, queen c7, attacking the pawn on c5, white has achieved some sort of a strategic goal. He managed to position the knight on c5, and despite the fact that the pawns are doubled, black cannot organize any counterplay whatsoever against the pawn on e5. So that's why here he played rook c8, since knight b7 and bishop takes on c6 already was a threat. a4 was played by Studer, queen b6, a takes on b5. Again, black cannot take c takes on b5 as the bishop on b7 is under attack. So after queen takes on b5, bishop e4 was played, probably with some ideas to play bishop d3, queen e4, and still bother black with the idea to mate. And here after rook fd8, here Studer played b4. And this is the current position right now, I believe. Let me double check it. Yeah, indeed, b4 has been played on the board at the moment. I don't understand it yet. What happens after... Oh, this is so nice. A takes on b4 is knight takes on b7, queen takes on b7, and rook a7, attacking the black queen and the bishop on e7, so white is simply winning material. A very lovely idea. And again, if black plays something like queen takes on b4, then white simply plays rook b1 and wins something, I guess. Just a second, let me double check it, although there's bishop c5. Okay, yeah, this quite apparent is that white is winning something. There's no intermezzo checks, no nothing, no intermezzo moves. So after b4, it's not really clear what exactly should black do, because now rook takes on a5 is a big threat. Yeah, so far the Swiss Grandmaster has been playing a wonderful Catalan model game. Again, let's go back. It all of this started with a brand new novelty: Bishop E3, Rook C1, 92, 95, 94, H6. I cannot really tell how accurate all of this was from the Black's perspective. Yeah, maybe A5 wasn't accurate, maybe 95 wasn't accurate, H6 might have been a loss of time, but ultimately we are on this position, and having White already achieved a perfect position with the knight on C5, White is definitely enjoying an advantage. And I think this entire idea of Studer playing A4 was exceptionally good. Trying to open the position, because there's no points of penetration in the center. If White will play something like Rook D1, Black would just play Rook D8. So White needs to create some targets at the queen side. At the king side, I think it's quite difficult. Quite difficult to organize, and I think so A4 makes a lot of sense. 8 takes on B5, Bishop E4, very powerful idea, and B4. So I'm not sure, maybe actually Bishop E4 already was coming with a threat to play B4 next, because the idea now, as you can see, after B4, Queen B4, Rook B1, Bishop C5, Rook takes on C5. Not only this bishop is attacking the H7 square, it also guards the Rook. So I think actually Noel played a very nice trap. Bishop E4 sort of hinting at some kind of an attack with some Bishop D3 ideas, but actually already preparing to play B4. Yeah, and we have this position right now, and yeah, Pichot is in huge trouble, huge trouble. I'm not even sure what to recommend here. So Rook A5, is that even a threat? I'm not sure again. I'm not sure again what to do here for Black. So let's try something like, yeah, Bishop C5 also doesn't work, right? Bishop C5, Rook takes on C5, Queen takes on B4, Rook B1. Yeah, that is exactly the same. 8 takes on B4 is going to be knight B7 and Rook A7. Maybe give up the pawn, A4. And the idea would be that Rook A4 is a mistake because of Bishop C5 and the Rook on A4 is under attack. So it's impossible to take the Rook. But maybe White can recapture with the knight. And then again, Queen B4 should be impossible to some Rook B1, Rook B7. And if Bishop takes on B4, I guess this is what Pichot is calculating right now. And maybe something like Bishop D3 attacking the Queen. So Queen D5, there's going to be a fork. And Queen A5, there's still a fork. And actually it seems that White is simply winning some material. Yeah, so far, great. I mean, really great game by Noel. And of course, all of the Swiss fans who are following the tournament, they are cheering for the countryman. Despite the fact that Noel is a very strong grandmaster, he is sort of an underdog in this tournament because there's so many other strong players, including the previous World Championship candidate cycle participant Kirill Alexeyenko, former World Championship challenger Boris Gelfand, 5 times, I think it was 5 times United States champion Gatakamsky. I mean, those are big names, obviously. So it's very tough to play against them. All right, maybe I'm gonna switch to the next game. So it's gonna be Sarin Nikal against Boris Gelfand, and you know, I just don't understand what Sarin is doing there, really, because knight f3, c5, b3. You know, you can try to hide your b3 first move, but it's still the first move b3. Nothing really changes. And the joke here is that Sarin played the entire rapid tournament first move b3, and the reason is that it's due to the very popular chessable course by his countryman Adiban Bhaskaran. And I imagine that all of the top Indian players, they're sharing their knowledge. And it's not a surprise that Sarin is playing b3 first move or knight f3 here and b3. But I have a feeling that playing this in a classical game against such a experienced player as Boris Gelfand, I think that's very brave. It's not like White is really risking to get worse here, but I cannot imagine just outplaying such a chess legend by making such quiet moves in the opening and not fighting for the center. So this was played by Sarin. Knight f6, bishop b2, knight c6. Gelfand just plays normal moves. c4, d5, fighting aggressively for the center. Takes, knight c3. You know, I'm not even sure if this is a theory. There's a fair chance that the players already are improvising. Gelfand's approach of knight f6, knight c6, d5 makes a lot of sense. I'm not sure about knight c3. Probably it's playable. And here Gelfand played e5 very aggressively in the center. So after knight takes on d5, queen takes on d5, Sarin's idea was to exploit the fact that the black queen is already walking and maybe play something like bishop c4 at some moment with a tempo. Bishop e7 was played, bishop c4, queen d6. Black has definitely solved all of his opening problems. So we essentially have some kind of, what is it really, Sicilian Paulson with colors reversed? Because, yeah, this looks really familiar structure to me. But again, Black has nothing really to be concerned about. And he played bishop e6, a very solid move. a3, and here the idea is that Black is not really interested to take on c4, because if he plays bishop takes on c4, White can play b takes on c4, and now this becomes a weakness. So for example, let's say Black plays something like a short castle, let's say something like f5. I'm not exactly sure. Let's say something like d3, bishop f6, e4. So this is my idea, which I wanted to show to you. Maybe it's not a great idea, but let's say this happens. White's idea would be try to get the knight to d5. And these pawns are in the color of White's bishop and might make an easy target. Of course, it's easier said than done, and it's not really so simple, but bishop takes on c4 is not really mandatory move for Black. So that's why Gelfand didn't take it. He played short castle, h4. You know, I'm not sure about this move as well. This is again a typical idea in various Sicilian positions to play knight g5, trade, and try to checkmate on h7. But you know, I have a feeling that you can play something like this in blitz, maybe when all that matters is this temporary initiative, because now it's not clear where the White king is going to castle. Long castle definitely not, because the entire queenside is exposed, and short castle with the inclusion of h4 leaves a really strange impression. Yeah, so here Gelfand simply played h6, a very easy move, of course, not to miss any knight g5 ideas, because you just take it and play g6, not to miss any mate on h7. So bishop e6 was played, queen c4 was played, again trying to invite Black to go for the same idea of queen takes on c4, b takes on c4, and then try to somehow exploit the fact that Black has given up the square on d5, and maybe White can try to play d3, e4, king e2, and get this knight to d5, and the bishop on e7 maybe is not exactly the best piece. But Black is not obliged to trade, and the experience of the Israeli grandmaster play queen f5, hinting already to play e4. You know, I was looking at this position, I was thinking maybe it was even possible to play e4 right away. So e4, this does allow White to ruin Black's pawn structure. And after queen e6, f takes, something like knight e5. But then again, after the simple trade, and I don't know, maybe bishop f6. Maybe it's not so clear really. Let's say it takes. And yeah, this is a weakness. So rook c1, rook c4 might be a possibility. So g takes. Yeah, probably not the best approach from Black's perspective. So I guess that is the reason. That is the reason why Gelfand discarded this idea. And he played queen f5, still hinting at e4. And now after d3, we simply have what I call the Marozzi bind. So we have the pawn on c5 and on e5 against the pawn on d3. Now this pawn on d3 will make a long-term weakness. Rook d8, rook d1, rook d7. Gelfand plays very straightforward. And now, again, when you have a look at this position, it's not really clear why did you play h4? Where's the big idea? Because it already should be quite apparent here that there's no mate, there's no knight g5. g4, g5 only creates problems for white. King e2 was played by the Indian prodigy. I guess there's already no better square for the king. And now after h5. I'm not sure about this move. I guess Gelfand was slightly concerned about g4 because the king on e2 now defends the knight on f3. So he played h5, rook g1, still hinting at g4, rook d8, g4, h takes, queen takes on g4, takes. And if somebody can be worse here, it's only Black. Let me double check it if this is the actual position. Yeah, this is the actual position, and White has a weakness on h4. Now Black can play something like f6, bishop f8, king f7 play very solid, and it's difficult to suggest what exactly, let's say, White is going to do here. Let's say something like f6. I would imagine h5, with the idea to play knight h4, knight f5. King f7 is an easy move. Knight h4. Something solid like bishop f8. Knight f5. And I mean, even something like b6. So I don't see any active prospects here for White. I mean, h6, in the worst case, Black can just take it. Or maybe just play g6 or even g5. I guess g6. The pawn on d3 is a weakness. How do you activate this bishop? e4, knight e3 would allow White to fight for the d5 square, but this seriously weakens the d4 square. Maybe some f4 ideas. Something like f4. Wait, but there's e4.